Hey guys, Kovorix here again. I have even more talos action for you. Um, I know that that's all I've uploaded so far, but for some reason, every time I get in a talos, uh, I just get fight after fight after fight. So that's what I have for now. And before I get started, I just want to give a really big shout out to my buddy. I don't think I'm pronouncing your name right, Leakeasy Marot Thanks, man. I really, really appreciate the donation. And actually, this ship and this clip and subsequent clips were made possible because of it. So I really appreciate it, and your donation is going to good use. Um, so now to the clip. This is my first jump into low sec. I just got this ship in Jita, and I've got a route set. As you can see, there's some low sec, and then I go into null sec. And this is my first jump in, and there's a gate camp. The Gila and a Drake warp in from a pounce spot as soon as I jump in. So that means I can be pretty sure that that means they mean business, right? And my first thought with this setup is that I really don't want to brawl them straight up, right? I mean, in a simple tank and gang scenario, even with sentry guns on my side, the Gila and the Drake have a combined DPS of probably more than me, and they probably together have double the EHP, if not more. So I really don't want to be charging and guns blazing and all that. So my idea is that I want to get out to a range where I can leave if I need to, right? I'm not. I'm also not really. I don't really want to run right away. I want to see what's going to happen. So I just want to get out to like 30k or something, so I can get outside point range and decide whether I want to really engage them or not. So I'm going to press play right now, and as you can see, they just warped in. So I'm just going to get my bearings. Figure out which side of the gate I'm on before I start burning. That's really important, everybody. Make sure you know figure out where you are on the gate, and then start burning away from them. So the Gila engages me first, so that pretty much makes him automatic primary, right? I want to use sentries to my advantage, so he also has the weaker tank, but luckily he shot first, so sentries are on him, so he's automatic primary. So I get like a solid I think it's two micro warp drive cycles out, so I'm 30k from the Gila. He's coming out after me, but I'm taking a lot of damage, as you can see. I was actually hoping that the Gila would have heavy drones so I could just kind of outrun them, but he has sentry drones, which are doing like perfect damage to me all the way across the field. So I'm taking a lot of damage, but luckily so is he. And he actually spins around. He notices how much damage he's taking, so he spins around, heads back towards his buddy, which is smart, and gets out of my point range, again smart, and then he warps. Because he was pretty clearly going to die. But now I'm left just with the Drake, but I'm also left with like, 20% shield. So I'm really not interested in charging back in and trying to brawl the Drake down at this point. Also, actually, the Drake is doing sometimes good damage, but sometimes he's not really doing any damage. And if you go back, maybe you could pause and look back if you want and just look at how much damage I'm taking relative to my speed and my micro warp drive. He's using Fury missile or Rage missiles, which have a SIG penalty, so he's doing some really weird damage to me. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little. But anyways, that's sort of a small point. But he warps off. I guess he figures that he might as well not sit there and just take sentry damage while I fly around outside his point range. But left there's this sacrilege who's in the corp with them, and he's like 200 off the gate, and that makes me think that they're just kind of watching me, right? They're waiting to see if maybe they'll get a chance to warp back in, or maybe he's going to warp back, or the sacrilege will warp in and try to engage me. So I'm thinking that this fight really isn't over yet, just given by the fact that sacrilege is sitting there spying on me. So while I'm here, I figure I might as well shoot at the Gila's guard too, so just in case he warps back on grid, he doesn't have them to use against me. But also, you can notice where I'm sitting relative to the gate. I'm not sitting in between the gate and the planets, because that would give them like a perfect warp in. The sacrilege could tell them where to warp in, and then they could get in on top of me. But anyways, the sacrilege warps to a belt, right? And my first thought is, okay, he's luring me there. The rest of his gang is going to be there. And they're gonna get me to a place where sentries aren't on my side, and they're gonna try to take me down. So I actually think I might as well oblige, right? I think I'm still the fastest thing on the field, so even if it's a situation that I don't like, I can still just leave if I need to. They don't have any frigates or anything on scan that can take me down, so I figure that's a fine idea. And again, I warp in at 30 because that's sort of a non-committal distance. But what I find here is it confuses me initially. 3 ships from before are there, but there's also a hurricane there. So my first thought is, oh shit, they're all together, and they're going to send out something after me to tackle me, so I need to start burning away immediately. Unfortunately, that's actually the wrong idea. What actually happened is they found a hurricane in the belt and they decided to engage him instead of me. It seems like that's where they all warped off to. So now there's a little three-way going on, and the Gila, for some reason, after my first volley, he went ahead and warped out. So I kind of, it's unfortunate I didn't keep a point on him, but at this point I've realized what's going on. So now I'm sort of heading back in, and the primary choice is going to be the same as the Hurricane, right? The Hurricane is working on the Drake, so I want to help him out because I want as many ships off the field as fast as possible. So even though the Sacrilege is actually the greater threat to me because he has a scram and a web, and he can potentially even get in under my guns. He's really the ship I'm afraid of. I want to take ships off the field as fast as possible, so the Drake is my primary choice because he's so low in health. Now the Hurricane warped off. I don't know if he burned off or if he jammed one of them, but he did. And for some reason, the Sacrilege warps off too. I was actually watching and waiting, watching his velocity and his radial velocity because he's the one I'm worried about getting tackled by. So I was getting ready to burn away from him if he started coming at me. But honestly, I have no idea why he warped out and left his Drake buddy to die. But that's what he did. Anyway, so I'm still not done yet, actually. So I killed the Drake, and everything else has warped out. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I can find one of them at a Celestial. Maybe they've warped to different places, and I can take advantage of that. Sometimes when people, like sometimes right after a fight, people will warp out thinking it's over, and they'll sort of start spacing out at a planet or something. They're talking to their buddies, and you can catch them again and continue the fight. So it's a good idea. As soon as a fight is over, start scanning the system, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. But what I find is I find that the Gila and the Sacrilege are both on scan towards the gate, which is kind of strange. But I think maybe that's great. Maybe they're going to be taking sentries. Maybe I can go in and continue the fight under sentries. And again, I'm warping in at 30. It's sort of like you can see where my shields are at. My shields are still at like 1/3. I'm not trying to commit. I'm not trying to warp at 0 and commit to fighting them, but I just sort of want to keep the aggression going. Sometimes you just sort of want to keep the fight going, and just so you can see what happens. But basically, as I'm coming in, I notice actually neither of them are on the gate, which means that they're probably at the pounce that they were at before. I don't know if you remember, they warped in from a pounce. That was sort of their camp spot. So either they're sitting there waiting, which is a possibility. They're just waiting for their GCC to run out, or they've decided to resume camping again, which is another possibility. Maybe they just decided to sit around and wait. They probably have a scout on the other side, right? And that's how they knew I came in, and that's how they know when to warp in. So I decide that I'm just going to sit at this gate. I'm going to sit off of this gate and let them see me on scan at the gate. So maybe they'll decide that I'm worth engaging again. They'll warp something in. Or maybe something will come in from the other side, which is what happens, right? This Raven jumps in from the other side. I think the Gila sees him with his scout, but I've stupidly actually started to align away, and I'm not in point range right away. So again, with my first volley, the Gila warps out pretty much instantly. But so that's the end of him. He warps out, but the excitement isn't over yet. Here comes a Tornado warping in at range. I don't think he's connected with any of them, but he sees me. Maybe he notices that I have low shields. He figures that I'm shield tank, and he has a Manticore buddy, and maybe they figure they can kill me, even under sentries. And so they aggress me, and the Tornado again takes sentries, so he's my primary target. I'm going to put my warriors on the Manticore so I can hopefully take them down both at once. And in this instance, even though the Tornado has better range than me, I'm going to try to pull away as fast as I can because I have low shield, so I need to mitigate damage as much as possible, and B, he has sentries on him, so I can just pull away and let sentries do their work, which is kind of what happens. He goes down really super fast, and then my drones take down the Manticore really super fast, and that's that. That's sort of a split-second little fight, and they both died really quickly. And I'm actually pretty sure that they weren't associated with either of the other people earlier with the Hurricane or the Gila / Drake / Sacrilege, but honestly, if you were in this fight and you're watching this video, maybe you can inform me as to what exactly was going on. But again, this is just sort of a funny little situation in Eve. It was 4 parties fighting each other, and just I kind of came out on top, and I had a lot of fun. And again, first jump into low sec. So all you people complaining about how there's never fights, take that, I guess. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, thanks so much for the donation, Mr. Awesome Donor, and there'll be more clips to come for sure. See you guys later.